Welcome to Player Prop Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor gives you player prop tips. I'm your host, Professor Sides, and in this episode of Major League Baseball Props, I will discuss 5 picks that I think make for good bets for games scheduled to be played tonight, Tuesday, June 27th. 2023. Remember, if you're interested in full game projections of picks for every MLB game, sign up on Dub Club. That link's in the show description. Cost is under $1 per day. You'll receive money line picks, run line prices, totals, numbers needed for A grade picks, all sorts of goodies over there, and exclusive access to our Discord chat. Get a lot of good information over there. Remember that sports are unpredictable, so the discussion on this show projects a typical game, does not try to forecast it to a T, as that'd be a foolish and impossible goal. As I always say, please understand that good and bad variance will occur. So while the long-run profitability has been proven with these methods, winning every single day is an impossible reality for any gambler. Last time we talked about player props, kind of ran afoul with the hitters, got the pitcher prop. It's kind of funny. I think I mentioned in that show that the player props can just be a little bit more variable. And especially when you get down to things like hits and runs, those individual ones. So you're trying to combine the hits, runs, and RBIs into one, you get a little bit less variance. But even then, player props are still going to be highly variable. And so we had some of that bad variance on Friday. Hopefully we can have some better variance here and do more pitcher things. The pitcher props have been going a lot better for me here. So I think I'm 3 out of 4 on those so far in our short life here. I've long said I thought the pitcher props would be a little bit more of a strength here for me because of the pitcher ratings that I've got are a little bit more fine-tuned. The better props that I do for the model, and just for those of you curious looking under the hood, are probably a little bit less fine-tuned simply because their precision is less important, because when you're talking about trying to assign a probability team wins, where you err on one player, you probably make up for it with another player. But with pitchers, there's been a lot of work on the pitcher side of things to try to make sure that is as accurate as possible. So I think that's probably going to be more of a strength. I'm going to focus more on that here today. And remember, with these player props, you can play daily fantasy sports over on Thrive Fantasy, official partner of Picks with the Professor. You can pick an entire lineup of players and enter it into a contest against other people. See if you're smarter than someone down the road. Or you can simply choose between 2 and 5 props that you like, and you win if they all hit. New users that use the promo code SIDES or use the sign-up link in the show description will receive a 100% instant first deposit match up to $250. Sign up today and take advantage of some free money to play with. New users also get the opportunity to select, it's one starting pitcher a day of over 0.5 strikeouts. So as long as he basically pitches, he'll probably get it. It's usually a really good pitcher. So if you're already signed up, today is a great day to take advantage of that. Join Thrive Fantasy, and you get a sure winner for your first pick. Be using Outlier.bet for today's picks, official partner of Picks with the Professor. Outlier integrates seamlessly with your favorite domestic sportsbook, allowing you to shop for the best prices while also seeing the latest trends and analyzing all relevant data. Sign up today at Outlier.bet/professor. Also, that link's in the show description in case you need it for a 7-day free trial to check it out. And without further ado, that's where we will head over to with the first pick, Kevin Gausman over 6.5 strikeouts. I mentioned with pitchers, your strikeout props and your inning props are highly correlated. If you're trying to model some of this out yourself, the biggest key in trying to project anything with pitchers, whether it's strikeouts or walks, your biggest key is going to be projecting innings or outs. Why am I on the strikeouts here rather than the outs? His number for outs is 18.5, and I want to back Kevin Gausman. I've been saying it all season long that I think he's undervalued, one of the best pitchers in baseball. Got a little bit of a, value built in for a while because of a couple of rough outings early on, but I still thought he was fantastic, and he's been making us a lot of money backing him, betting on sides, betting on unders. Right. And so here I kind of want to find another way to back him against the Giants, but with the outs prop at 18.5, it's a little harder to go over 18.5. That, of course, means he has to pitch and get at least one out in the 7th inning. And he's often gone just 6 innings. He's often gone above that as well, but it's a little bit of a tougher ask. I feel a little bit less confident there than I do on the strikeouts. Over 6.5 strikeouts does have a little bit of juice, but according to Outlier, you can see here is a plus expected value play using Kelly criterion. I'm not sure the exact divider they're using, but they're recommending about a 1.5% of your bankroll on this. I think there's some value on this prop because when you look at the trend here, his last 3 outings, he hasn't had as many strikeouts. But as I'm always talking about, we can't overreact. We don't want to underreact. We also don't want to overreact to what's happened recently. Overall, he's hit this number 63% of the time. The break-even point for minus 131 is about 57%. And I'm not really concerned. I'm not really going to overreact to 3 outings where he didn't get some strikeouts. It doesn't mean he for sure will bounce back this one. It just means that I don't think we should really be weighting these 3 games drastically more than the 3 before that, where he easily cleared this number. I think each one going back, you weight just a tiny, tiny bit less. So yeah, I'd weight the last outing more than 5 outings ago, but not by that much, right? And of course, for the entirety of the season, he's been well clear of this number. So I like backing Gausman in one way or the other, but I think strikeouts is a stronger way to look rather than outs. I will take the outs though on Garrett Whitlock. I'm going to go under 17.5. Whitlock is a guy who's only made 8 starts this season. We made a handful last year. He's been kind of in and out of the pen and out of injuries, and he's pitched really well. If you watch the show where I talk about this game, for the full game pick, and you saw some of the metrics there that I have in the Google sheet, you'll see he's a well above average pitcher. He just doesn't go that deep. Hasn't been stretched out that long. Asking him to get a full 6 innings is unlikely. You could see he's been 50-50 on that this year. But when you look at the situations where he has exceeded that, one of those, a home game against the Rockies, and we're long talking about how the Rockies are not a great road offensive team, who was able to go deeper there. The Twins offense has kind of been very up and down as of late and very disappointing as of late. I think this Marlins offense is good enough to put up a few runs. They're not amazing, but they're decent enough. And as I talked about on the show, you've got a massive hitter-friendly ballpark there in Fenway, and a night that's going to produce a lot of runs. That's going to make it harder for him to go deeper into this game. I think the under just makes sense from that logic standpoint of it. And again, according to Outlier's metrics, another plus expected value play here, almost 4% expected value, a little about 4% of your bankroll on it, according to them. Again, not sure the exact divider they're using. So if you're familiar with Kelly, you can think through all that and work through all that math. I'm not going to dive into that. It gets really deep into the weeds, but I think Garrett Whitlock here, I don't think he's going to perform poorly. It's just he's not a guy that I think is very likely to go extremely deep. Getting a 6th full inning for him, I think, is unlikely. Outlier agrees that it's unlikely, so I'm going to go under 17.5 for him. Also going to fade Michael Kopech here, under 6.5 strikeouts. This one's pretty much a wash between strikeouts and outs. I don't think there's a huge difference. I think they're both pretty correlated. The thing with Kopech is I think if you heard me talk about him, I think he got kind of lucky here in the middle of the season. I don't think he's as good as some of these middle results here. You can kind of see bulked up right here. 10 strikeouts, 9, 10, and 9. It was a good run for him. I don't think he was that good. I think it was kind of some luck. He ends up with such a high pitch count. He walks a lot of batters. He takes a lot of pitches to strike guys out, and he's got really good stuff. But all it takes is 1 or 2 hits with those walks, and all of a sudden his pitch count gets up really, really high. It makes it hard for him to strike batters out. You can see he's kind of come back down to earth here as of late. This is not a situation where I'm not contradicting myself here. I'm not saying like, look what he's done here in these last 3. I'm just saying I said the entire time that I thought this was unlikely for him to continue to do this. It wasn't like, I'm looking at this in hindsight as it was. I just thought it was some very lucky performances. Obviously, look at the offenses he faced here. And of course, one of them's the Angels, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Royals, Guardians, who've been very hit or miss, much more miss than hit, and the Tigers. I mean, he had some good outings against some bad teams, but it's not like facing the Astros offense, which at that point of the season was pretty decent. Marlins, you talk about decent. Seattle, disappointing, but still decent. Rangers offense, good, right? He hasn't been able to do this. Angels offense is pretty good. And you say, well, yeah, he had 10 strikeouts last time he faced the Angels. We can't overreact to one outing. And on top of that, you have to think anytime there's a rematch, it kind of favors a slight bit the team that just kind of got owned a little bit, got beat up a little bit. And not so much to say like, I think the opposite result's always going to happen. I don't want to make too strong of a statement there. But what I mean by this is he struck out 10 batters. That's 10 situations where they can look at the film and say, here's how he struck us out, and here's what we're going to do different. It becomes a cat and mouse game. And a guy like, Michael Kopech, I'm not sure has the stuff to deviate, has the arsenal of pitches to deviate and now play that cat and mouse game. I think the Angels will be a little bit more on him this time than that time. Kopech's strength is that his stuff is really good, but it's not that he's got 4 great pitches, 5 great pitches, that sort of thing. And so when you have a guy who's got more depth in his arsenal, that's where you say, oh yeah, then he can kind of switch it up and keep those guys off guard. Angels kind of know what's coming now. I think they're in a better spot to take advantage of that. And I think they're going to touch him up a little bit. That's going to lead to him having a shorter outing, less strikeouts. Whether you want to take outs or strikeouts, I think it doesn't really matter. According to Outlier, this is a stronger play. But whether it's outs or strikeouts, I think either one, fading Kopech makes a lot of sense here tonight. I'm going to go over with Framber Valdez, though. Of course, y'all know I've talked about him. Best pitcher in baseball right now that is healthy, according to my model. I'm a little surprised that this number is only 5.5. I'm a little surprised that Outlier doesn't say this is plus expected value. I know the Cardinals' offense is good, but Framber's just been a machine this year. And he's had obviously a couple times where he hasn't hit this, but hitting this 2 out of 3 times this year. And you go back to last year, hitting it 71% of the time. This is a fantastic pitcher. It's a pitcher-friendly ballpark. Now, that hurts you a little bit in that part of why this is a pitcher-friendly ballpark. A little bit extra room in foul territory might mean he gets an extra out with a foul pop-up. However, that can work both ways. I'm not convinced necessarily that's going to hurt his strikeouts. It might a tiny bit, right? Because then, a 1-1 count, the foul ball stays in play for an out, as opposed to it being a 1-2 count, he can strike the guy out. But if it's a 1-2 count, it doesn't guarantee a strikeout anyway. And you might get an extra couple quick outs that let you go deeper into the game and get the strikeouts, whether it's outs or strikeouts. I don't think either one is a terrible way to look on this one. I think Framber is set up for success. I have no idea if there's going to be any jet lag coming from the Cardinals over from London. It wouldn't surprise me. It's not the easiest situation to come back from and face a guy like this. If you're coming back from that situation, you want to face more of a decent pitcher, not potentially the best one in baseball right now that's out there. I think Framber's going to have a really good night. He's just consistently hitting this number. I don't really think there's much else to say other than this guy's a machine. And any way I can back him, I'm looking to do it, whether it's the game under, backing the Astros, his props or their strikeouts, outs. I think backing him is the way to go. And if you'll notice, I kind of found this prop. I was looking to find a hitter prop. I was looking at, I'm always talking about the Astros are really right-handed heavy. That means they're going to have success against a lefty like Jordan Montgomery. And I was looking around for Astros batter props. I was trying to find one where there might be value, a righty. And that's where I saw on the side of the screen, this insights here. And that's where I kind of saw this right here. Now, I'm not too sure I'm that concerned about the whole opponents with the losing record thing. That kind of matters because it means the team's not as good, so he's getting more strikeouts. The Cardinals, though, offensively aren't a bad team. I know they have a losing record. They've been really disappointing, but they're not a bad team. But it just kind of got my attention here, and that's when I started diving into Framber. So, again, a big benefit here having a membership at Outlier. You get to have a lot of these things pop up, and it kind of just sparks your brain. You could look at them and just say, yeah, I don't care. You can look and say, yeah, I actually want to dive into that. Let's see what the data says, and you can start playing around and find what you think might be good options. That hitter prop that I found, Alex Bregman on this one, I was shocked. I was thinking I was going to grab, I was thinking first about Jose Abreu. He's been hitting the ball a lot better lately. Not that I think he's going to have a resurgence necessarily, but he looks competent again, decent again, as opposed to early in the season when he was absolutely miserable. His prop for hits, runs, and RBIs is juiced to minus 145, which really surprised me. I know he's hitting the ball better, but Alex Bregman's still a much better hitter. I don't know why this is only minus 130. He's hit this number 55% of the time this year. Facing a lefty bodes really well. The fact that he's higher in the lineup than Abreu also bodes well, but extra chance of getting that extra at bat, which could matter. And on top of that, I just think the Astros overall are going to have a lot of success. That makes it more likely for him to get a fifth at bat. When you get a fifth at bat here, it makes it just your probability goes up. And again, we're not saying that fifth at bat is what's going to do it. It may not matter, but again, we're always thinking about probabilities here. Converting that minus 130 to probabilities upper 50%. And again, with Bregman hitting this 55% of the time on the entirety of the season, given the fact that he's facing a lefty here, I like that he crushes lefties. A lot of these Astros hit lefties really well. That bodes well. Whether it's a different Astros hitter or not that you want to back, there's a couple of different options that are going to be priced a little bit better. If you're doing a thing where you're, spending money to get players, some of these Astros, some of these right-handed Astros might be guys to look at. And I was going to dive deeper into that and try to find kind of a hidden gem. But when I saw Alex Bregman here at minus 130 for this, the over is just something that I cannot pass up. And that is all I've got for you here today. Thanks for tuning in this episode of Player Prop Picks with the Professor. Don't forget to subscribe so you can enjoy all the sports betting content provided on this channel. It's dropped right into your feed, and I'll be back again tomorrow with more sports betting content. But until then, as always, best of luck. And remember, you can eat your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.